One of the most mysterious treasures of Ukraine. The mystery which has still not been unrevealed after more than a century. This is a discovery the British Museum could not resist, an artifact that has become one reason of the fiercest debates among scientists. The Kiev-Pечерsk lava, it was looted, closed down and blown up a number of times. When brute force didn't work, certain tricks were used to try and turn it into a center of anti-religious propaganda in Ukraine. The scars of religious hatred of the Bolsheviks still remain on this UNESCO World Heritage Monument, but it was reborn again and again, like a phoenix, with amazing museums, among other things. Four human figurines, 7.5 centimeters each, 3 animal figurines, 2 bracelets, 2 necklaces with a hryvnia, spiral temporal rings, and a palmate fibula. Everything is made from silver of 400 to 900 samples. This exhibit is kept at the Museum of Historical Treasures of Ukraine. Simple and unpretentious figurines, but this is only at first glance. Strange men wearing ritual masks or maybe helmets, cast from silver and carefully polished. The head, details of clothing and feet are covered with gold. Along with human figurines are not horses with jeweled lion manners, but actually true lions, and that is only a small part of treasures that were unearthed in the modern-day Cherkasy region. A lot of women's jewelry and many things related to male military armor have been found among the treasures. Those are belts with signs, temporal rings for women, neck hryvnia, bracelets and fibulas, Byzantine silver dishes and things that still cannot yet be accurately attributed. 116 items with a total weight of over 3 kilograms, and only 15 are at the Museum of Historical Treasures. You will not find neither Byzantine dishes nor belt buckles here. Where is the rest? And what are these strange figurines that look either like dancers or astronauts? 1907, the Martynivka village in the Cherkasy region. Farmers worked the land at the estate of Nadia Fedorovna Tereshchenko. Suddenly, one of the workers' shovels hits something solid. The workers start digging eagerly. After they dig up the object, they cannot believe their eyes. It is a wooden chest upholstered with silver. Quickly assuming what they might find inside the chest, they break it open. What the peasants see inside makes their hearts pump faster, as they have discovered a real treasure. Giving in to the first frantic thought, people divided among themselves and agree not to tell anyone about it, as they would have had a lot of problems with the Tereshchenko family if it found out. But it seems someone failed to keep their mouths shut. A well-known Ukrainian industrialist and philanthropist, Bogdan Khanenko, managed to find out about the discovery. He found those peasants and brought out a part of the treasure at his own expense, which he then donated to the Kiev Art, Industry and Science Museum in 1909, where he served as the chairman of the committee at the time. But for some reason, he said the Rizhichev region was the area of discovery, which is over 50 kilometers from Martynivka. Obviously, they had initially kept the place of its discovery a secret, probably to avoid any problems with the landlord of the estate. Meanwhile, a true investigation was launched in the neighboring villages. Both individuals and entire institutions started searching for trails of the treasure. In June 1913, that same museum found and bought another 7 items at its expense. The seller's name was not made public, but no matter how hard they tried to hide information about the discovery of the treasure, the owners of the state where it had been discovered still found out about it. In 1909, Nadia Fedorina Tereshchenko married Russian diplomat Vladimir Muraev Apostol Korobyan. Thousands of kilometers separated the spouses from the estate, but that did not interfere with the search. Vladimir took all the necessary measures to ensure this, and he did manage to collect 100 items from the treasure. In 1914, he also gave them to the art museum, but the rest of the treasure has not been found to this day, and it will make many years before Ukrainian scientists find the trail of the second part of the Martynivka treasure. It turns out that all this time the treasure was in England, in one of the largest museums in the world, the British Museum. But how did the historical values travel thousands of kilometers, and why there?
Мешканець Вінниці Іван Ільченко надіслав листа.
A resident of Vinnytsia named Ivan Ilchenko sent a letter in late 1920 stating that he was the owner of an unexposed treasure, and he offered the British Museum to buy the treasure for £30. In the end, the British Museum bought the treasure for £16.
16 фунтів.
It took 7 long years to gather the part of the treasure that remained in Ukraine in one museum, but that was only a half of the job. Much more time had been spent on its identification. The research of the discovery began only in the Soviet times. The first piece of data the scientists could ascertain was the age of the discovery.
Це аналогічні датовані комплекси.
We use similarly dated complexes, that is, cookware with Byzantine stamps to help establish the age of the treasure. There are 5 stamps that were stamped in Constantinople during the reign of Emperor Justin II in 60s-70s of the 6th century.
6 століття.
This process became much more difficult after that. No scientist could be 100% sure to whom the treasure belonged. Odd figurines of people and horses had brought serious confusion to the rank of the scientists. Russian researchers considered the treasure the antiques of the ants, a group of Slavic tribes interspread with Scythians, Sarmatians, and Goths. Their Hungarian colleagues attributed the discovery to Avars, a large tribal alliance dominated by Turkic tribes.
Фігурки тварин, славнозвісні, які ми там теж бачимо.
There were explanations of which animal figurines were what. Few people know, but Hungarian historians came up with the theory of figurines being horses because they wanted to develop the theory that finding belongs to Avars or some other nomads.
Тому, звісно ж, там з'явилися коні, а не леви.
Today, most researchers associate the discovered artifacts with the Penkivska culture, which represents the ants. Most likely, the scattered treasure items were war trophies collected from different regions of Europe, but the mysteries do not end there. To this day, scientists are not sure what is depicted on the figurines. A number of archaeologists see embroidery in the patterns of the chests to the figurines and a dance in the quirky postures. A theory began spreading among Ukrainian scientists that those are prototypical Slavs that dance the hopak.
Є, звісно, прихильники теорії.
Of course, there are proponents of the hopak dance theory, but for me, this posture seems more like the pose of a horseback rider. In the new millennium, candidate of historical scientist Olga Shcheglova became interested in the dancing man. She made quite an unexpected assumption. Horses of the Martynivka treasures are not really horses, but lions. And the shaded rectangle on the chests of male figures is not embroidery, but a tunic of Byzantine origin. But this poses the question, what is a Byzantine tunic doing on a Slavic treasure?
Olga Shcheglova
drew attention to the popularity of the prophet Daniel with the lion seen in the early Middle Ages. Similar images were used to decorate belt buckets and shields. According to Shikhlova, authors of the figurines borrowed the scene that spread across Europe from Byzantium, and thus the image of the tunic appeared on European objects.
Пояснюю, що це танцюючий чоловічок.
They say a dancing man has a halo or something like that over his head, but there is a traditional image of a halo even when it comes to material artifacts, and the claim that it is influenced by Daniel or any other saint is not tenable at all. The lack of reliable data creates the most incredible theories. Many consider the figurines to be aliens.
Теорія палеоконтакту не найгірша, скажімо.
The ancient astronaut hypothesis is not the worst of theories, and if you accept it, you can explain a lot of various things that cannot be explained by orthodox historical science. Regarding the Martynivka treasure, out of all artifacts found on our territory, this one fits the ancient astronaut hypothesis the best.
Палеоконтакт підходить, власне, найбільше.
Ufologist Yaroslav Sochka claims in his book that Martynivka figurines are very similar to Japanese figurines, which in turn supporters of extraterrestrial contact, many of whom support the ancient astronaut hypothesis, believe to be a decision of aliens. Sochka is convinced that the Martynivka treasure has the same cosmic attributes: closely fitting clothes with lacing on the chest and a belt that holds the upper and lower parts of the spacesuit.
Дуже чітко видно, що костюм, власне,
It is obvious that the suit is made up of two parts. It's not separate trousers and a shirt or anything else. So it is two parts of one whole, while all ancient clothing were separate. Everyone knows that, and nobody wore suits back in those times.
Відомо, ніхто не носив якихось комбінезонів.
Dozens of scientists from different times and countries still cannot determine to whom the wonderful treasure belonged. All as one recognize its considerable value as a jewelry item. It is a very bright representative of jewelry of the 7th century. This treasure has become an impetus for studying the history of the early Slavs, of the nations and tribes that moved into Eastern Europe during the migration of nations. Over the centuries, numerous tribes moved through Ukrainian lands. Some of them have become the ancestors of European nations. Thus, the Martynivka treasure is interesting not only to Ukrainians, but also to many Europeans. At the time, the British Museum brought a part of this treasure for good reason. More than 20 items of the Martynivka treasure are kept in the British Museum in London. The Ukrainian part of the discovery has been collected together in the days of the Soviet Union. But now, this collection is divided into two parts. One, as already mentioned, is kept in the Museum of Historical Treasures, and the other one is in the National Museum of History of Ukraine.